Future ex-fiancé is angry because I don't want to share my son's money. When I was 32, something happened that changed my life completely. I won the lottery. It was not a fortune, not the kind you see on television with giant checks and flashing cameras, but it was enough to breathe easier. Enough to stop worrying every night about bills. Enough to create a peaceful life for my little boy and me. At that time, my son was only 1 year old. His father, my ex-husband, was still a part of our lives, and we were doing our best to co-parent kindly. We were not perfect, but we respected each other and always put our son first. That, to me, mattered more than anything. After the lottery win, I made a quiet promise to myself. I would use the money carefully. I would keep working a normal job and live modestly. I would not tell many people about the money, especially not right away. Most of all, I would make sure my son had a solid foundation for his future. So I did just that. I met with a financial advisor and opened a savings account in my son's name. 75% of the winnings went straight into that account. The rule was simple. He would get access to it when he turned 21. The rest I used for day-to-day needs, a little traveling, and fixing up our small home. It felt right, like I was planting seeds for a better future, not just spending for today. Year later, I met someone new. His name was Liam. He had a warm smile and made my heart feel lighter after the hard years I had gone through. He was kind to my son and respectful of my co-parenting relationship with my ex-husband. That meant the world to me. The three of us even had dinner together once, Liam, my ex, and me, and it went better than I expected. I thought maybe I had found a person who would understand my life and love it as it was. Liam often spoke as if I were just getting by financially, and I let him believe that. I did not feel like correcting him. I did not want our relationship to be about money. He once said he admired how grounded I was, how I lived simply and worked hard. I smiled and said, "Thank you." 2 years into our relationship, Liam proposed. He did it on a quiet beach at sunset, with my son building sandcastles nearby. It was sweet and sincere, and I said yes. My little boy clapped his hands and laughed. For a moment, everything felt perfect, but deep inside, I still had my doubts. Not about Liam's feelings. He was kind, gentle, and funny, but about the future, about money, about what might change if he knew the truth. I decided to be honest before we got married. I asked for a prenuptial agreement. It was not about keeping secrets. It was about protecting my son's future. The savings account was his, not mine. The money had been a gift of luck, and I had chosen to pass it on. When we sat down with the lawyer, everything had to be disclosed. That included the savings account in my son's name. Liam looked at the paper for a long time. Then he looked at me. His eyes were not warm anymore. They were cold and confused. This is real?" he asked. "Yes," I said softly. "It is my son's. He will get it when he turns 21. I put it there after I won the lottery 3 years ago." His face turned red. His jaw tightened. He stood up without a word, stormed out of the room, and slammed the door. I called him. I sent messages. I tried to explain again and again that the money was never part of our relationship, that it belonged to my son. But Liam did not answer. Not that day, not the next. For 2 days, I sat on the couch holding my phone, wondering what had just happened to the life I thought we were building. By the 3rd day, I made a decision. I wrote him a message saying he could have the ring back. The relationship was over. Felt heartbroken, but also strangely calm. I had protected my son. That was what mattered. A week later, Liam showed up at my door. It was a quiet Saturday morning. The sky outside was gray, and I had just made a cup of tea when the doorbell rang. I peeked through the peephole and saw Liam standing there, holding something in his hand. It was the small black box that had once held the engagement ring. I opened the door slowly, unsure of what to say. Hi, he said. His voice was low and careful. Can I come in? I nodded but did not speak. My son was at his father's place for the weekend, so it was just the two of us. Liam stepped inside and sat on the couch. He looked nervous, like someone about to take a test they had not studied for. I was shocked, he began. I did not know what to say that day at the lawyer's office. I thought you trusted me. I thought we were going to build a life together. I sat down across from him, still holding my tea. I do trust you, I said. But this is not about trust. It is about my son. That money was never mine, not really. I chose to put it aside for him because I got it through luck, not effort. I want him to have choices when he grows up. A chance to start life without debt. Liam nodded slowly. Then he looked at me with a strange expression. I understand that now, he said. But I think there is something you need to know too. Paused. I could hear the clock ticking on the wall. I have a daughter, he said quietly. She is 5 years old. I blinked. For a second, I thought I had misheard him. A daughter? I repeated. He nodded. From a relationship I had before I met you. Her name is Ava. She lives with her mother in another state. We do not talk about her much. I did not know how to bring it up, especially since things are not easy between me and her mom. I sat back, stunned. In all the time we had been together, 2 full years, he had never once mentioned having a child. There were no photos, no toys, no signs that a little girl existed in his life. Why did you never tell me? I asked, my voice soft but sharp. He shrugged. It is complicated. I do not get to see her much. Her mom and I are not on good terms. I pay support, but I am not really part of her daily life. The room felt smaller suddenly, tighter. I felt like I was shrinking in my seat. So why are you telling me now? I asked. Liam looked at the box in his hand and then set it gently on the table. Because I think you should share the money, he said. It is only fair. You got it by chance. Ava is just a little girl like your son. She deserves a future too. I stared at him. The words felt like cold water. I did not win the lottery for all the children in the world, I replied. I won it. I chose to save most of it for my son. That does not mean I wish your daughter harm, but I am not responsible for her life. He stood up suddenly, his hands clenched. You are being selfish, he said. That money could change her life. It is not even yours, you said so yourself. It is not yours either, I replied, standing up too. And you hid a child from me for 2 years. That is not just a small thing. That is a huge part of your life, and you kept it from me. Liam looked away, his jaw tight. I could see he was angry, but I could also see something else. Regret maybe, or guilt. But it did not matter anymore. The damage was done. I picked up the engagement ring and placed it in his hand. I think you should go, I said. He did not argue. He walked to the door and left without another word. After he was gone, I sat down on the couch and held my tea, again though it was cold now. My heart hurt. I had wanted so badly for this to work. But you cannot build a future with someone who hides their past and then demands a piece of your child's. Over the next few days, I tried to move on. I went back to work. I picked up my son from daycare. I cooked dinner and read bedtime stories. Like nothing had changed. But then the messages started. At first, they came from numbers I did not recognize. Just short sentences like, you are ruining a little girl's life. Selfish witch. Your son is not better than anyone else's. Then the messages showed up on social media. Different accounts with no pictures, no names, just harsh words. At first, I blocked them. Then I started saving them, just in case. What scared me most was not the words themselves. It was the fact that Liam must have shared my story. Maybe with his friends, maybe with his daughter's mother. Maybe even with strangers online. He had taken something private and twisted it into something ugly. I had kept his secret for 2 years. But now he was using my honesty against me. Each morning after the messages began, I checked my phone with a sense of dread. I never knew what I would wake up to. Sometimes it was a new number texting cruel words. Other times it was a message on one of my social media accounts calling me selfish or heartless. The words were sharp, but what hurt most was knowing someone I once trusted had started all of it. I had spent years protecting my son's future. I had carefully planned, saved, and dreamed of giving him a life filled with safety and choices. Not luxury, not fame, just peace. Just a chance to grow into whoever he wanted to be. And now that choice, that quiet little hope, was being turned into something ugly. One night I sat on my son's bedroom floor while he slept in his bed, his stuffed dinosaur tucked under one arm. I watched him breathe, his tiny chest rising and falling. He was only 4 years old. Too young to know what money meant. Too innocent to understand what some people would do for it. I remembered the day I had won the lottery. The shock of the numbers matching, the phone call to confirm it, the quiet decision not to celebrate too loudly. I had cried that day, not from joy, but from relief. Relief that I could give my son something better, something more secure. It had never been about things. It had always been about him. And now, someone I had loved, someone I had once imagined a life with, wanted to take that away. Not because he needed it, but because he felt entitled to it. Because he thought that winning money by chance meant it should be shared with people he never even told me about. Ava. The name echoed in my head. A little girl I had never seen, never heard about, never met. A daughter kept secret for 2 years. If he had told me about her from the beginning, maybe I would have seen his life differently. Maybe I would have cared about her too. But he had hidden her. And now he wanted to take from my son to give to her. It was not about the child. It was about the betrayal. The next morning, I made an appointment with a lawyer. I needed to know my rights. I needed to make sure that the money in my son's savings account would be safe no matter what happened next. The lawyer was kind and patient. She listened carefully, took notes, and assured me that the savings account was protected. It was in my name as custodian, but legally set up to belong to my son when he turned 21. As long as I did not make changes, it could not be touched by anyone else, not even a future spouse. That gave me peace. But the messages did not stop. I changed my phone number. I made my social media accounts private. I blocked and reported everything I could. Still, sometimes a new account would pop up, like a weed growing back after you pull it out. One message stood out. It came from a new number and simply read, "You won because you were lucky. You are greedy for keeping it all to yourself." Stared at it for a long time. Then I wrote back, "I was lucky, yes, but I was also careful. I chose to save the money for my child, not for myself. That is not greed. That is love." No reply came. But I felt better after sending it. I began to talk to my ex-husband more. He had met Liam, of course. He had even said he liked him, but when I told him what had happened, he shook his head. "That man had no right," he said firmly. "Our son comes first. Always. You did the right thing." It was a small thing, hearing those words. But they helped. They reminded me I was not alone in protecting our child. My son, meanwhile, went on being a happy little boy. He liked puzzles and picture books and spaghetti with too much cheese. He had no idea what a savings account was. He had no idea someone had once thought they should take his future from him, and I hoped he never would. One afternoon, we were walking home from the park. He had one of those colorful balloons tied around his wrist. He looked up at me and asked, "Mommy, do I get a big birthday cake this year?" I smiled and squeezed his hand. "Of course you do," I said. "You get the biggest one we can find." He grinned and skipped a little. And in that moment, I made another quiet promise. No matter what anyone said, no matter who knocked on my door or sent angry words from a phone, I would never let anyone take from him what he did not choose to give. His childhood, his future, his joy. They belonged to him. Liam never came back in person after that day. Maybe he understood that the door was truly closed. Maybe he realized that some things cannot be fixed with explanations or apologies. Some things stay broken. I still think about Ava sometimes. I wonder what kind of life she has. I hope it is a good one. But I also hope that she is not being taught to take what does not belong to her. Children learn from the grown-ups around them. And I wanted my son to grow up learning kindness, honesty, and boundaries. And the courage to stand up for what is right, even when others do not understand. Weeks turned into months, and little by little, the noise faded. The messages stopped coming as often, and the strange accounts became fewer. I still kept records just in case, but I no longer felt the tight ball of fear in my chest every time I picked up my phone. Life began to feel normal again. I threw myself into the things that mattered. My work, my home, my son. We started taking evening walks after dinner and visiting the library every Saturday morning. I signed him up for a music class, and he proudly came home one day carrying a paper tambourine with shiny stickers on it. Every time he laughed or told me about his day, I felt the quiet strength of the choice I had made. I had protected him. I had chosen his future over a man who had not been honest with me. I had not let anger or fear take away the life I had built for us. Still, there were moments when the past came back to me. I would find the old engagement ring box at the back of a drawer or hear a song that played during one of our dates. I would remember the way Liam used to hold my son's hand at the zoo, or the time we built a snowman together outside the house. There had been good memories. There had been laughter. But love without trust is like a house without a foundation. It might look perfect for a while, but the cracks will always come. One day, my ex-husband picked up our son and asked if we could talk. We sat on the front porch while our boy chased butterflies in the yard. "I want to thank you," he said, "for everything you have done for our son, for being strong, for thinking about his future even when it is hard." I looked down at my hands, a little shy. It just felt like the right thing to do. He nodded. It was. You know, when we divorced, I worried. Not about you as a mother, but about how things would go, who you might bring into his life. But you have been careful. Loving. And I respect that. It meant more than I could say. We had not always seen eye to eye in our marriage, but as parents, we were learning to walk the same path. And that meant everything. As the months passed, I made some changes. I updated the legal documents to make sure the savings account was even more secure. I added a written letter to be opened on my son's 21st birthday, explaining where the money came from and why I had saved it for him. I also started volunteering a few hours a month at a local community center. Something about helping others helped heal the parts of me that still ached. I met other single mothers, other women who had faced hard choices and chosen to protect their children too. We shared quiet stories over cups of tea, nodding and understanding. I never told most people about the lottery. It stayed between me, my lawyer, and my ex-husband. I wanted my son to grow up knowing the value of kindness and hard work, not thinking life was built on luck. One quiet evening, my son crawled into my lap after his bath, wrapped in a towel that smelled like lavender soap. "Mommy?" he said. "Yes." "Sweetie? Are we rich?" I laughed softly. "Why do you ask that?" "Because we have a warm house and you always have snacks and I have toys." I kissed the top of his damp head. "Being rich does not mean having a lot of money," I told him. "It means having love, having people who care about you, having dreams." He smiled, satisfied with the answer. "Then we are really rich," and in that moment I knew he was right. Years from now, when he opens that savings account, I hope he remembers the sound of his laughter echoing through our small home more than he remembers numbers in a bank. I hope he remembers that he was protected, that he was loved, and I hope he learns to carry that love forward, not in money, but in the way he treats others. As for Liam, I never heard from him again. At least not directly. Once in a while, I would get a friend request or message from a name I did not recognize, and I would wonder. But I never responded. Some doors need to stay closed. Looking back, I do not regret meeting him. He taught me something important. That love without honesty is not love at all. I had walked away from something that looked like a family to protect the one I already had. And that was a choice I would make again, every time.